another episode of Styles After Dark. What's up, my stylers? Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys have been having a fabulous morning, a fabulous night, a fabulous day. I kind of want to create an intro. I've been realizing I don't have like an intro. I do and I don't, right? You know, when I first started this podcast, I remember being like, I want others to feel seen and heard and feel like they're not going through life alone. They're not the only ones. You're not alone, right? We're going to come up with something today. So let's think about it for a second. Okay, I thought about it. I think it's welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Styles After Dark. And then we'll be like a podcast where you hopefully feel seen and heard and are reminded that you're not alone. I think that is a slay. Comment down below if you agree. Comment down below if you have any suggestions. Let's work together, okay? I'm so open to that because whoever supports me, I'm like down to collab with like the intro. This week's episode is going to be awesome. We're going to be uncovering a lot of things to do with overthinking, anxiety, self-sabotage, and insecurities. And I recently was battling with all of the above. I actually battle with it a lot on the regular, but I think I've gotten to a point in my life where I know how to manage it and control it and not let it overtake my life. The past few weeks, I was really struggling with that. And it was honestly a little bit of an epiphany, a little bit of a journey. And I decided to make this week's episode about that and also anyone who might be going through the above who can relate to it. And I'm hoping that this episode can shed light on the same things that I've been dealing with. But before we get into the episode, it's time to do the drink of the week. That one kind of sucked. Let's try it again. Let's try it again from the top. Now, 1, 2, 1, 2. The drink of the week. Lord. Okay, one more time from the top. The drink of the week. That will do it. I don't want to overthink it, so we're just going to stick to that one. This drink of the week, we're still riding the poppy wave. We have not tried all the flavors yet. And no, this is not sponsored, but it's an amazing soda. As always, because we've been on this for about 4 episodes now, there's no fake stuff, prebiotics for your gut, and infused with apple cider vinegar. It's basically a healthier soda, and a lot of their flavors have been delicious. My favorite so far has been the root beer. But today I got orange cream soda. If you follow my Instagram, then you would have seen the trip that I made to Smith's for the drink of the week. If not, go follow Sofia Styles After Dark on Instagram so you can keep up with the latest content. Ooh, the way it fizzles. The way it fizzles, honey boo boo child. Oh my God, do you guys remember that saying? Like, who was around for that? Honey boo boo child. I'm nervous. I'm typically not a fan of orange soda. I'm not a fan of Fanta. Orange flavoring is just not my cup of tea. So let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Because I'm not a fan of orange soda, it's not my favorite. But I will say, if I did like orange soda, this would be good. The cream kind of comes after, like it's an aftertaste, if that makes sense. All right, guys, it's time to hop into this episode. I'm going to be speaking a lot about Jesus, my Christianity, God. So I'm just putting that out there. And I also want to talk about how that is very scary for me. And it's going to sound silly, especially if you're someone who is deep into their faith. I would say that I'm pretty deep into my faith. I have a really great relationship with God. But being public about it and being newer to having a relationship with God, I will say it's a little tricky and I don't feel that confident sometimes when I am on speaking about God and his word and how he correlates to things in my life because I don't know, because I don't want I don't know, I don't want the community to come at me if I say something wrong. I don't want people to think I'm like a Christian freak, which I absolutely understand is not something I should be worried about. I guess it just is a subject where I'm still learning to get comfortable slowly as my relationship with God. And as I get more confident in my walk with Jesus, I feel like I become more confident with having conversations about it, especially on my podcast. Um, and yeah, I think I am being vulnerable by sharing that because I'm sure I'm sure someone can relate that maybe it it just feels like, oh, she's super Christian, but if I'm being honest, one, I should not fear if one, what anyone thinks of me, and two, if someone's gonna view me like that. I think at the end of the day, it just matters. I love everyone for who they are, what they believe in. I don't judge anyone for their beliefs. I don't judge anyone, or I try my best to not look at anyone differently or anything like that. So I just hope that people can do the same with me. So if I say something incorrect or whatever, please don't come at me or just be nice. Remember to be kind, or at least try to be. It's important to share that today because the past few weeks, as I struggled with my anxiety, as I struggled with panic attacks, a lot of my self sabotage, imposter syndrome, just so many of the emotions and the roller coaster that I was going through. What got me out of that was focusing on God and Jesus again, because I was kind of straying away from it. And it's just funny how sometimes when you stray away from God, you start to lose control in your life. Just at times, typically, that's what can happen, or at least that is what was happening with me in these particular past few weeks. So I kind of want to talk about overthinking and anxiety first because I am huge on overthinking, guys. I battle a lot with that. I battle with anxiety, and I will say I've done a lot to improve. But we're all human at the end of the day. And a few weeks ago, when it started getting really bad, I kind of realized a pattern when it comes to overthinking. And I want to see if anyone else realizes this pattern as well with themselves. I feel like I start to overthink and anxiety comes and worry comes and self-doubt when I have the most joy and the most confident and I'm taking risk and I'm putting myself out there, or I'm starting something new that might be better than me, or you're starting a new hobby, you're starting to go into something that is good for you possibly, or maybe you started a new job, maybe you're trying to start content, a new relationship that's good for you, maybe you started going to the gym and you're having like gym anxiety. And I just think it's funny that when I at least have am trying to like do good for myself and like be on top of it and be on top of my game, so much doubt starts to come in, and those fears, lies in my head, the bad thoughts coming in, it's just not real. It's not true. I had to reflect and realize that that was something this past time it was a pattern. My overthinking was a little something like I'm not good enough. I get a lot of imposter syndrome, especially being on social media and putting myself out there with this podcast. I literally kid you not, I get thoughts like, who am I to have a podcast? Who am I to be posting every day on social media? But obviously, I'm doing it because I want to stay consistent. And you might be getting the same thoughts too. Like maybe you want to like start your health journey, and maybe you're like, oh, who am I to like be going to the gym? I don't know anything. Or maybe those thoughts are taking over your head, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Or maybe you're starting a new job and you feel like you're not good enough for that job title that you just got. That is exactly how I felt. And it's like everything I was doing, a negative thought would come in. I'm just trying to make my dreams come true, and I'm just trying to put myself out there, but I'm just overthinking everything, or I'm overthinking my own personality, and I'm overthinking who I am as a person, and I'm asking myself if I'm even applicable. I don't know if that's yeah, applicable for what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to be. And on top of it, What I don't know about you, but when I'm overthinking, a lot of it is insecurities and a lot of it is kind of some like, it's kind of these thoughts that you're embarrassed about. Like it's almost embarrassing that you're having these thoughts. Like your brain's over here like, "Girl, you ugly." Like you're not smart enough. Who are you? Who are you to be doing anything that you're like you're not good enough for that? So then comes my ego too of like thinking I don't want to go to someone about this. I don't want to tell one of my friends. I don't want to tell one of my family members because I'm going to look like I don't have it together. I'm going to look like I'm super insecure and how could I be that way? Like, I don't want someone to see me in that light, but that's so silly. And that's definitely the ego talking. I don't know about you guys too. Like, I try my best sometimes to deal with things on my own, but sometimes the thoughts are too big for me. Sometimes the thoughts overtake me. Sometimes I can't shut off the thoughts on my own, which is why God is so important in this because some things are too big for you and you have to give it to God. Through this time, I just think I was forgetting that and I was trying to solve the worries, I was trying to solve the anxiety, the overthinking all on my own. I was trying to handle it on my own, but God doesn't want that for you. And I feel like God wants you to give it to him because it's not living by the word of God. He doesn't want us to feel those things. Not to get all again when I say this like very Christian or anything, but it's true. Like evilness is the devil. The devil wants to rob you of the great things in life. The devil wants to distract you from chasing your dreams, from putting your health first, from getting that new career, quitting that job, starting a new life somewhere else that's maybe healthier for you, not wanting you to stop drinking, not wanting you to stop partying, addiction, like all those things. That is the devil pulling you, staying, keeping you right where you are, not wanting you to grow. And I was just dealing it on my own. I was like, "Oh, like I've had anxiety before. I've done this in the past. Like I've done therapy. I can handle this. I can shut off the thoughts. It's okay." Like I was just like, "Oh, like you're just overthinking. Like you're fine, Sophia, blah blah blah." Like just pushing it off my shoulders. Like I started losing sleep at night over it. I was losing sleep because when it was time to go to sleep, my brain was still on, like with the thoughts and I swear the voices, like not even on some cuckoo stuff, just the voices in my head, like you know what I'm talking about. The small little voices or the big voices that are "Oh, like you are not good enough." It's funny because I have heard from other people what you once went through, someone else might now be going through and still trying to learn about and grow through and learn through and eventually just be where you're at or even better. Let me backtrack a little bit because I feel like sometimes I get carried away. One of the nights where I couldn't go to sleep because I kept staying up really late, like I would turn my phone off and still be up like an hour or two after. So what really like shifted everything is I wake up, it's 3 a.m. and I don't know about y'all, but 3 a.m. is my worst nightmare. Like, I don't want to wake up at that time. I don't know what little birdie told me growing up that that was like the devil's hour, whatever. Like, I swear it was some girl in eighth grade when we had a sleepover. I like told her, I was like, "Oh, I woke up at 3 a.m." And she was like, "Oh, well, you know what they say about that 3 a.m. time when you wake up." And I was like, "L- didn't ever hear about that, but now it haunts me." So I just feel like it's bad juju. And I feel like I never want to wake up at that time. So when I do, like I can't go back to sleep until it hits 4 a.m. I get so much paranoia. I don't like it. And I wake up and I just start having a panic attack. And because I have a relationship with God, like I don't get too insane about waking up around that time. Like I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine," like blah blah blah. I was like, I need to pray through this. I need to pray to God because what I'm feeling right now is not okay. And I just did a prayer and I was like, "God, like please get me through this. Please take this anxiety away." Like I put all my trust in you. I put all my worries in you. I put all my anxieties, my fears, my troubles with you. And, I hope that you can just help uplift me and help me through this. Like, I'm giving it to you. I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, please just give me a sign. Give me something to like get me through the anxiety, the worry, the panic attacks. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of overthinking. I'm tired of not letting myself grow. I'm tired of not just like listening to these bad thoughts. And I told him, I was like, I cannot get through this alone. And I see that personally. Like, I have not had one of those moments where I have felt God is with me, or like I felt his presence or anything like that. I think I've had maybe one um before this, but I really felt it that night. Don't know how to explain it, but it's like, if you know, you know. And I just felt him take it all from me, kind of thing. Like, I really did feel that. And I know that sounds crazy, and when people talk like this, or especially when I was like diving really early into my Christianity, I'd be like, all right, like, okay, I get it. But no, I'm serious. Okay, you guys, I'm serious. I just knew he was there with me and I felt so safe. And then I went to bed, and the next day, this is where the story starts to shift. I am a runner, and she's a runner, she's a track star. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Girls Gone Bible. It's an amazing podcast. I've listened to a good amount of their episodes, and there are these two Christian girls that talk about several things and go back to the Bible, and they're just beautiful souls. Oh, like, let me listen to this while running because I can listen to the word of God. I'm like scrolling on one of their episodes, and I click on one of them, and it's like secrets don't make friends, or I don't even know what the episode was called, but it had no correlation to what I'm about to say. And hit play, I'm running, I'm listening, and I start to realize that this episode is all things overthinking, imposter syndrome, self sabotage, and insecurities, and battling with like not mental illness, but yes, mental illness. I was shook, you guys. This is, I do not take this lightly, because when things like this happen, like, what are the odds that I asked God the night prior, when I had a panic attack at 3 a.m., to give me a sign that he's with me, to give me a sign to get me through this worry, these anxieties that I have been having. And the next day, I haven't listened to their podcast in months. And then all of a sudden, the first episode I click on, that honestly didn't even show me any signs of what I was battling with. I just randomly clicked on it. It's everything I've been dealing with. I just felt so seen and heard. I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders while running and listening to this. Oh my gosh, I am not alone. There are people going through the same thing. They're having the same thoughts, just in a different way or with a different thing. And I also just felt a little lost about my podcast. I was like, do I even have anything good to say? Like, I think I lost purpose in a way of like where I was going with it. And that's what was getting me insecure. There you are. They're like so popular. Their podcast is a hit. And they're over here talking about how themselves also get insecure and have like imposter syndrome and don't think they're like good at it. And I was like, wow, like, that's literally me. I mean, I'm nowhere near famous or anything, but I battle with that too. I believe that there's no coincidence like that. Like, I believe that when something like that happens, it's a sign from God, and he's speaking to me through things. And so yeah, it's like beautiful. And when you have a relationship with God, you have to think of things like that, and you have to listen and really just be aware of your surroundings and catch those signs from Him. They really emphasized on suffering in silence is not the way to go. You should never suffer in silence. And a lot of people think they need to suffer in silence. And that really was me. I was trying to do it by myself, trying to figure out my thoughts and shutting them off. And I think it just got to a point where it got more and more louder. My thoughts got louder, the lies got louder. If you're, still on your walk with Jesus, still figuring out where you stand with God and Christianity or whatever you believe in, I want you to know that when you are a Christian and when you have your walk with Jesus, he doesn't want that for you. He doesn't want us to have anxiety. He doesn't want us to worry. He doesn't want any of those things that we battle with. He wants to take that from us. He wants to uplift us. A part of me suffering in silence is like, I didn't want to be a burden, but that's what friends are for. That's what family's for. And they were so right. And it just made me realize like, it's okay to be vulnerable and ask for help or, you know, vent to a really good friend of mine who is going to hear me. And they really emphasize like, who is that person in your life? And that's when I had also kind of realized like, who could I go to about this? Like, do I have that person? And I realized I did. And it was my great, amazing friend Olivia. She's always given me such a safe space to express my feelings and has always allowed me to be vulnerable. Even when we've gotten into like little disagreements, like she's always been such a safe space in our disagreements and has validated me and has she and I actually battle with BPD. And if I keep this in here, it's because I asked her for permission. But me and her battle with the same things mentally. And so she's always been able to really understand where I'm coming from when it comes to my emotions and the mental things that I struggle with and we both struggle with. And I also just realized like, Sophia, God has given you people in your life that you can lean on. And it is super important for myself and for if you're listening and you might relate to this. We as humans, I think, always, we never want to be burdens and we never want to. It's really hard to be vulnerable, especially if like growing up, you weren't raised in an environment where things could be safe and you could express your emotions or you could go to someone and they would be able to handle those emotions. I was raised in a household where anxiety wasn't real. Depression isn't real. Like you just need to be stronger. And I think now as an adult, that kind of has affected me being able to express my emotions and express to people when I am going through a hard time and try doing that whole thing of like, oh, well, we need to be alone. Like I can handle this all on my own. I'm here to say that that is not the vibe. And I think that we need to normalize when we are going through hard times and when we are going through mental battles or mental struggles, even if it's overthinking, whatever it is, like we need to be there for our friends. And I don't think every friend can handle you, but definitely find that one person. And if you don't have that one person, that is why we always will have God, and God will always be there for us. That was just a huge eye opener. And then after that, it just continued throughout the week. God was really showing me, oh, Sophia, when this happens again, remember these things that I have shown you in this whole week. Because I posted on my social media because I like to be open with mental health. As much as I am in the social media world and I am a content creator, I don't want to come off as my life being perfect. I don't want to come off as, oh, I'm this happy, amazing person and I never deal with anything, because that's just not the truth and the logistics. And that's part of what I hate of social media. So I like to balance it. So I had posted something on social media about it, and then my dad called me and he just checked up on me. He was like, hey, like, what's wrong? Like, I saw you post that you were going through some things. And in that conversation with my dad, I got really vulnerable with him. And, I shed out some tears and I told him some things that I had been dealing with besides like the mental battles I was going through. I was going through some things in my personal life. I realized after letting all that out, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was going through a lot. I wasn't aware of all the changes that were happening around me and how that could possibly impact my mental health. And I think that was a good thing to realize because around a year ago when I was in therapy, I remember I was going through something and I was becoming high stress, high anxiety again. And I remember my therapist being like, "Hey, like, is there anything that has changed recently in your life?" And I had told her a few things that I was dealing with. And she was like, "Those are like really significant changes into your life. That could be affecting your anxiety." I think sometimes with my problems, I don't validate them or I don't dissect them. If you start reacting in certain ways, like having anxiety, or maybe you start becoming overly stressed, I think we should take a step back and kind of realize, like, okay, is there anything in my life that might be affecting my hormones or my stress levels and causing this stress? Because then it will just kind of make more sense. Then you can have more empathy for yourself and be like, oh, okay, you have this, and this going on. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a break. When I was talking to my dad and I just like vented all of that, I was like, whew, I had a lot that was weighing on me that I didn't realize. Really look around in your life and look if there's been some changes. Look if there's been some things that maybe you're shoving here. You might need a vent session to a friend or a family member who's going to hear it, because we can't let that build up. Sometimes we need to vent. And as much as I'm big on therapy, I think sometimes friends and family are also just good. I felt like I was just becoming so aware why I was dealing with these panic attacks and feeling so overwhelmed. And then Sunday comes. I've been going to the Church LV here in Vegas since March. There has not been a sermon yet where, at least when I've gone to Sunday church, where they focus so much on overthinking and anxiety and mental illness, except for this past weekend. So the one week where I'm having an epiphany and I'm realizing all these freaking things, that's when they decide to have this, like, bingo, another sign from God. I don't want to look at my church notes from last week. These are just gentle reminders that I felt like I wanted to share with you guys. And that really helped me. So, a lot of what the pastor was trying to get through us was like focusing on new memories. We are daughters and sons of God. You are not your battles. Your main identity is a child of God. Before every new season comes voices from previous seasons. I have this fear of letting go of old memories. You have to be willing to make new memories. A lot of the time when we're overthinking or we let the past haunt us, sometimes the reason I feel not good enough, it's coming from trauma. It's coming from the past. It's coming from who I used to be. So I feel like now in the present, I can't be who I want to be. I'm not allowed to be, but that's a lie. And I feel like I loved what he said, because we need to focus on the new memories, the new memories. Oh, God wants us to become the best version of ourselves. And that can't happen if we don't let go of the old memories. I got so stagnant in my relationship with God, and I felt like I was like, oh, like I have a relationship with him. Like I know my God, I know my Jesus. You just think you don't need to put more effort, or there's like a season where you're like, oh, like I'm chilling. And that's exactly when God was like, oh, so you don't think you need to be praying as much. You don't think you need to be reading your Bible as much. So here you go, sister. Let me give you a reminder how much you need me. I'm going to leave this situation and be like, okay, no, like I need to humble myself, because, and God was trying to humble me, because I do need God and I need to give it to God. And when this happens again, if there's another season that comes, I'm going to treat it differently. And when the past comes to haunt me, or when I try to self sabotage or those voices come back, no, we're not doing that. Maybe there was someone that needed to hear that. And I wanted to share this because this is something I was struggling with. This is something that I was battling with. And the voices in my head were like, keep this off social media. After all this, it was like, no, Sophia, you started this podcast because of this, because you deal with those things, and because you felt so sick of once I was healing, I just felt this sense of wanting others to heal too, to not feel alone, because for majority of my life I've always felt alone and I've always felt weird, and I've always let the voices in my head win. When I say voices, I just mean negative thoughts. I mean my past. And the reason I started my relationship with God and the reason I feel so confident as a Christian is because he has done miracles in my life, and he has really given me the strength that I don't think I would have had I not followed my path with God in the past year and a half. So, talk about it. We should be talking about mental health. We should be talking about our struggles. I hope this brought some relief to you. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to like or comment on this video. Subscribe to this channel, Styles After Dark, on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, tune in every other Wednesday at 12 p.m. Remember to follow the socials, Sofia Styles After Dark on Instagram and Sofia Styles LV on TikTok and Instagram for my personal. Yeah, remember to be kind, or at least try to be. Have a great rest of your week, and remember, you're not alone.